In 2018, the rapper known as XXXTentacion had his life taken, and it devastated many fans as well as many people in the rap community. While many tributes have been made for the rapper since his passing, there are those who are hoping that he is still alive out there somewhere, and their theories as to why that is both interesting and somewhat odd. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The life of XXXTentacion.
Crazy. R.I.P. to X. I love you. You will be missed.
Before we look at the passing of XXXTentacion, it's important to look at the life that he had, especially since it clearly impacted so many. While it's true that he had a rather controversial career, which many young rappers nowadays can say, it's also true that he was one to have left a musical footprint that is still inspiring other rappers. For example, while many rappers like doing very long songs to help nail the feeling that they are going for, XXXTentacion was one to keep things short, sweet, and pure for his songs, and very few people seemed to mind. In that way, he was kind of a trendsetter, one that would not care about the tropes and expectations of the genre, but instead branch out and try to make his own music his way.
And Lil Wayne, but I was always into like different music. I think I made that clear with like the music I distribute.
He was also a rapper who had a very passionate fan base. It wasn't as big as others, but what he lacked in fan base size, he more than made up in loyalty overall. Thus, why many were devastated upon his passing. In terms of his music, he did have a slew of hits in their own rights, including his debut album reaching number 2 on the Billboard Top 200, despite it being his first major piece of music out in the world. That album also had a couple of hit songs that went rather high on the top 100 charts too. He was making a lot more music before he passed on, and many of those tracks, including some unfinished songs and collaborations, have been released since his passing as a way of honoring him, and it was done with permission from his family. So given all these tributes, why do people think he's still alive? Time of passing.
Feel me? I don't believe nothing I see on the internet, so what I'm gonna say is pray for bro, for real, you know what I'm saying?
It's sad to say that without a passing there can be no conspiracy theories as to why a certain person is still alive. And in fact, that's part of the reason why people think that XXXTentacion is still alive, because certain things about his passing don't add up. Here is a detailed breakdown of the day that he passed on. The event itself happened last year in June when XXXTentacion was out and about in Florida near where he lived. He went to a motorcycle shop and came out of the dealership in a BMW when he was suddenly followed by a dark SUV. This was just the beginning of the events we all know the result of. Though the police and an ambulance made it to him, he passed away in the hospital hours later. The following statement was given about the loss of XXXTentacion. On June 18, 2018, Jocelyn Flores, known worldwide as XXXTentacion, tragically passed away in Deerfield, Florida. The statement begins, "In deference of his family, friends, and loved ones, and in light of further investigation, we ask that their privacy is respected at this time. XXXTentacion touched the lives of millions around the globe and will forever reside in the hearts of countless fans who listened to his music, attended his concerts, and felt the glow of his uncontainable, undeniable, and unique spirit." Many mourned the loss of XXXTentacion, and some were even crushed by the event, not wanting to believe that this had actually happened. Many flocked to his music, bringing him arguably more success than ever when he was alive. In the rap community, many posted social media messages of peace and love and good wishes to XXXTentacion in the next life, as well as to his remaining family. But to some, the idea of him being gone was just too much, and that's when the conspiracy theories started to emerge, especially when you consider that he's not the first rap star claimed to have faked his demise. Lack of evidence. There are a ton of conspiracy theories out there in regards to XXXTentacion and his passing. One of the more compelling aspects of the evidence put on XXXTentacion being alive came from a Twitter handle named Vast in Vain, who made a post not long after the passing of X, stating that a lot of the evidence presented at the crime scene didn't add up to the accounts made by the sheriff's department and other official sources. While it's easy to judge a person like this and think that they're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, you might be surprised by just how well he breaks everything down, and the use of photo evidence to show just what's going on and what's not going on here. Here's what Vast in Vain had to say about the passing of X and why there's evidence that he may be alive. Like I said, this guy knows how to break things down and show that he's not just another crazy person. That's some pretty compelling evidence, and they even show the picture of X in the car, and sure enough, the head tattoo honestly isn't there. If we're being objective, there are logical explanations to these questions and queries, but that doesn't mean that they can be dismissed quickly. It just means that we have to think about what might have happened and where that leads us in regards to X possibly being alive or not. But regardless of what the truth is, This thread got a lot of attention around the world, and it turned many into believers that X is still alive, which goes to prove many things, including the impact of his passing, the desire of those who still want him to be alive, and how logical this guy's notions were about his passing, reasons for being gone.
Away from the people I love, or to like, I was stuck, and because I fell in love with the wrong person.
Obviously, one of the biggest questions that needs to be asked about X if he did fake his passing is, why in the world would he do that? And what did he have to gain from doing all this? It is a bit hard to fathom at first, but if you take a step back, you'll see a picture beginning to form. The first and foremost, it is true X might have been popular in the rap game, but he hardly was world famous in the way that Drake, Kanye West, Eminem, and others are. In fact, his fan base actually grew after his passing, and if you look at his sales, they were leagues above what he had before. But more importantly, X was one of the most controversial rappers of the young generation of the genre, and not just because of his lyrics, though those did indeed help get him that label. Rather, he's had some very unfortunate choices as to how to handle certain problems or issues in his life, the biggest being with his longtime girlfriend, Geneva Ayala. The two had a very complex relationship, but by complex, I honestly mean mistreating and other factors. And though X often tried to win her back, including singing about her in his songs before he passed, it was never enough. Don't believe me that he was doing her wrong? Well, before he passed, she filed a lawsuit against him, stating that he not only mistreated her, but did other very horrible things to her. So why does this matter? Think about it. Can you prosecute someone who isn't alive? Exactly. With him being gone, all his cases would be closed, and in fact, that's exactly what happened. You can't prosecute or judge someone who has already passed, more or less. So faking his own death would give him a bit of peace in terms of legal freedom, as well as take a lot of pressure off of himself, and let him be free in his own way. Believe it or not, people have faked death before to try and get out of things like this. So X going to that length honestly wouldn't be too much out of a stretch if he felt he could pull it off. Again, it's not clear that this is what happened, but many people need a motive to do such an extreme act, and he had plenty of it. Not to mention, he kind of predicted it.
Did you want to win any of these items on the screen? If so, be sure to watch the whole video, leave a like, and comment the hidden message. And with that being said, let's get right back into the video.
Tupac.
Say what up, bro? Tupac! The real Machiavelli the Don.
Yeah, I'm going there with this one. Tupac's death is still something talked about to this day, and the reason I'm bringing up Tupac is that much of this situation sounds very similar to how the legendary rapper Tupac Shakur passed on from this life, and the conspiracy theories about why he's still alive and where he is. The parallels at points are very uncanny, so let me break it down for you. Tupac was without a doubt one of the biggest rappers in the world during the 90s. His music was legendary, it inspired many generations of rappers to this day, and he is consistently called one of the GOATs of the genre. But then one night in Las Vegas, he was taken away in a drive-by, and that's when things got weird. He, like X, wasn't lost at the scene, but passed afterward. Both of their bodies weren't shown to the public in certain ways. The funeral of Tupac was closed casket, at the request of his friends and family, and the funeral was supposed to be a big event, but got cancelled last minute, limiting those who saw the casket, and thus Tupac. The point I'm trying to make here is that all these circumstances have led to the long-standing rumor that Tupac is alive, and some feel he is in Jamaica or Haiti right now, chillin', because he was tired of all the height he had gotten on himself during his time in the United States. The music he made, his interactions with the police, the inspiration he was giving to others, it put a lot of pressure and spotlight on him, and some think he cracked, so he passed on, so he could move on, which is similar to the status of X before his own passing. He again was very controversial, and if you need to get away from the country, why not follow one of rap's idols and pull a fake passing? You could argue that it would actually be a little easier in this day and age than in Tupac's. And if it did actually happen to Tupac, he came out clean, and people are still talking about him to this day, although the people who caused the passing of X have been caught, and so that is a very key difference. But if handled the right way, this could have been a cover-up of sorts. Now I know what you're thinking. Okay, comparing X to Tupac, that's a stretch and you know it. And it might be a little bit of a stretch, but just like in a court of law, a precedent is everything. And as for the reasoning behind people thinking X is alive, well, there's more than you might think. Publicity stunts.
In your style. That's what the fans were saying.
Yeah. Flow, hell yeah, bro.
We've all heard of celebrities doing stupid things for publicity, including doing fake relationships and breakups, doing movies that honestly don't exist, and more. What does this have to do with X? Well, he's done his own stunt before involving his life. This happened in 2017. X posted a video online on his Instagram feed, and in that video, X appears to be taking his life. Obviously, his fanbase went nuts about this and tried to find out if he was alive or not. Turns out he was actually just showing a clip of himself from a music video he was doing called Look at Me. And this stunt worked as it got a lot of attention to the video. So by that token, if he was desperate enough and thought it would work twice, he could have easily pulled this off to try and get more buzz for, say, another album or another track, just depending on what he felt he needed to do in order to get more fame and attention. Granted, it's been a year now since his passing and no new albums have come out per se. There have been some newly released songs that X never got to finish or collaborations that were only partially done, and the attention those got was very real. But he hasn't appeared in person since, so you need to think if he would wait this long to reappear. Predicting the future.
I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy.
When it comes to the notion of death, some people honestly have a weird connection to it versus other people, including how they can sometimes predict when they're going to go long before it happens. Before his passing, X went to Instagram and made a message that has given a lot of people chills since then. If worst thing comes to worst and I'm dead and I'm not able to see out my dreams, I at least want to know that kids perceived my message and were able to make something of themselves and able to take my message and use it and turn it into something positive and to at least have a good life.
Make something of themselves and able to take my message and use it and turn it into something positive.
He said in the clip, "If I'm going to pass or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy, or they found some sort of answers or resolve in my life, regardless of the negative around my name, regardless of the bad things people say to me."
Or they found some sort of answers or resolve in my life, regardless of the negative around my name.
That's most definitely an interesting set of statements, right? Almost like he felt the end coming. And that brings us to something his attorney said not long after the incident. He noted that he actually asked the rapper to beef up his security detail. We talked about him needing security, that he was past the point of being a kid making melodies on a street corner. So he felt he was going to pass on soon in some aspect, and he denied extra security, which has all the hallmarks of a setup, or at least it would in the eyes of conspiracy theorists. It's possible that he really didn't feel the need for extra security and that he wasn't worthy of being a target for anyone. Or maybe he was just waiting for death to come to him. Or maybe something else went on and he didn't want security that wasn't in the know. You decide. Why believe such conspiracies? That is the question, isn't it? Well, it's fair to admit that some of these theories about the fake passing of X are compelling and even logical to an extent. It's evident that he's gone and not coming back. So why would anyone truly latch onto these thoughts and statements? Why do we try to believe something that we know just isn't true? What are we doing that is causing all of this to come forward and to look for the smallest thing to say that it's not real? The answer is grief, and it happens to us all. It's sometimes easier to think that some people are still out there even when they're not. In the wake of X's passing, many people were hoping for a reason to believe it wasn't real, and when these thoughts and ideas came about, they were enticing. Sure, some of the aspects of his passing are suspect, and certain things don't add up, but that doesn't mean he's still out there waiting for something or hiding from something. It just means there's a mystery that hasn't been solved yet. Will that mystery ever be solved? It's honestly hard to say, and it's impossible that, like other mysteries involving rappers and their passings, that this will be one that is never solved. But that doesn't mean that there's a deeper conspiracy here. Far from it. It just means that there are some odd loose ends that haven't been picked up as of yet. Sometimes life is like that. If you're a fan of the late X, it's okay to be sad that he's gone, and it's okay to still miss him. By all means, continue to listen to his music and albums that he's put out during his life. Just remember, there's a difference between wanting him to be back and truly knowing that he's out there alive. A different take. Towards the unsuspecting end of his life, X focused on being a good person, being a proper role model, and using his fame and influence to spread positivity and the message of being a good person. He had this massive platform and used it to promote positivity and love. Through his words and his music, he had left his mark on the earth and on many people's hearts. It's very plausible that Jocelyn Flores felt he had fulfilled his destiny after doing so, and felt that there was no need for X anymore. So he faked his passing. The idea very much fits his personality. X was a strong believer of destiny and fate. It would make sense for him to feel that faking his passing was the right thing to do, as he had already left his impact on the world and created a legacy that would long outlast him. A legacy of raw emotional music based off internal struggles we all deal with while trying to work on ourselves to be better human beings. And that's just another perspective or look into why X might have faked his death if he did. There you have it, a look at the passing of X and the theories and ideas about how he might still be alive. Do you believe any of these ideas or notions that have been put forth? Or do you think that this is just people failing to cope with the loss? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe. I'm King Trending, and I'll see you next time.
A simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's really your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. Go for it.